Hello everyone. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in. I'm sure people will start filtering in the next couple minutes. But I'm Dan from Make Music, and I'm very excited to welcome you to our first Finale Developer Roundtable. Joining us today are three of our devs from Finale. We have Doug and Dave here in the office with us, and then John joining us virtually. Today, we're going to just talk about our favorite Finale features, a little bit about V27. We'll answer some user questions and just kind of get to know the faces behind the Finale curtain. So on that note, let's start with some introductions. Why don't you tell us who you are, how long you've been with us and Make Music and a Finale user, and kind of what your role is here.
My name's Doug. I've been using Finale since Finale 97. I started with the company in 2004, working in customer support, doing Finale support and smart music support. And then now I'm on the Finale development team. I do manual testing. So it's been quite a journey. I've had to learn a lot more about computers than I ever expected I'd have to know. I am a composer myself. I do mostly jazz stuff, and so I really like the handwritten fonts. And I do a lot of big band writing.
Awesome. Yeah. John?
Yeah, I am John Chigfry. I am the product manager for audio and notation at Make Music. And for the most part, that means I get to work with these two guys and the rest of the Finale team on bringing you the new features and everything in the next version of Finale. I have been using Finale. I think my first version was Finale 2002. That was when I was a composition student back in high school. Shout out to Tracy Rush at Northeast Iowa School of Music. He introduced me to Finale for the first time. And I've been with the company now. I just started my 11th year.
Awesome. Dave?
Yeah, my name is Dave Cusick. I am the product specialist for Finale and the Garriton lines. My basic role is I'm the liaison essentially between our customers and the development team. So I spend a lot of time sitting with both sides of the table as far as talking with customers and users and customer support and technical support, finding out what people are talking about, and then vetting all of that and getting a good understanding of it and how it affects the program and the users and our whole customer base. And then I take that and write it up and put it in a format for our development team to take a look at and prioritize and understand, and put it to good use in the product for future developments. I have been using Finale since about 2000, around there. I'm a composer myself. I write mostly media type stuff with orchestral music and synthesizer based VST software synths too. Yeah, that's my role here.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So the Finale team did something kind of really incredible over the past year, and that was putting out a new upgrade, a new update during the pandemic. What was it kind of like working from home on such a big update? How did Make Music kind of handle that whole situation?
Well, we closed our office.
Did close the office quite early.
We were all working from home. We used Zoom a lot, of course. And we would do some days we'd kind of keep Zoom on all the time. And so that we could try to create as much as we could the in-office experience. And it actually, the team is a pretty close-knit team, and I thought it went pretty well.
Yeah, prior to the pandemic, we had some long-term developers that were already remote from our Boulder location here. So we have what's called a telepresence in the office, where we have a camera on our desks and a giant monitor with the remote people's smiling faces on it daily. So we can keep in touch. So fortunately, we had a little bit behind under our belts as far as experiences working separately and remotely prior to that. But it was quite a change though. I mean, it's different when you're not speaking face to face all the time, but I guess that's the challenges everyone kind of faced during this. So
yeah,
it felt like to me too, the whole thing happened really suddenly.
Yeah. Definitely. And now we're in this brand new office space. Do you like it so far? Is it fun getting a couple days a week, getting to see the whole team again?
I think it's great. Yeah. Finally get to go to work and chat with your coworkers again and have some great discussions on what's going on.
Yeah, once in a while, I would try to like hold a happy hour or something where we would get to talk to each other and not talk about work. So yeah, I remember one time we spent an hour and a half talking about all the restaurants in our neighborhood, which was kind of
Very fun. Let's shift over to V27. Big update just came out. Lots of fun new features. What's some of the most exciting or things you're most excited about with the new update?
for me. I was really excited with the new Smoofle fonts. That stands for Standard Music Font Layout. And what that means specifically for us is that in our old Maestro font, we were only using 256 characters because it was an old font. So that if you needed percussion stuff, you had to use Maestro percussion. And if you wanted to do lyrics, you had to use Maestro, So with the new modern fonts, then we have all of the symbols for the Maestro font all in one place in one font. So we have thousands of symbols in there. The other thing that really has been making me happy about it is we had to modernize all our fonts. And so we've gone through and I think they actually look a little better, especially the Broadway copyist. I've been really happy with the way it looks and the output I've been getting with it. And it's all kind of fresh and new, and it's got a little bit different look in it. I'm really pleased with that look.
Great. John?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the instruments work that we were able to do in version 27. It's a little bit of a dream come true for me, because back when I was working as the technical communications specialist, is what we call it at that time, basically the guy who writes the user manual. I undertook a project to document all the places where Finale didn't quite get things right about certain instruments. There was a lot of percussion issues. Playback could have been a lot better through the Garriton instruments. And I was writing up all these spreadsheets with kind of in the back of my mind, is this ever actually going to get done? We finally brought that to fruition. And with the release of version 27, a lot of those improvements are in there, and really you shouldn't even notice because everything just works correctly. So it's kind of a long time coming. I'm glad to see it actually happen.
Awesome.
And a lot of those instruments are from all over the world. So
Oh yes.
I remember as I was testing them, I'd actually have to like look them up on Wikipedia and see what they looked like.
Yeah.
For me, I guess both of those things are huge. I think Smoofle is going to be something that's going to impact the product for pretty much the foreseeable future. So I'm glad we're starting off with a good base on that, and something that we're going to iterate over many, many times as the future releases of Finale come out. And one thing that I think too, that I was kind of a proponent of and a big fan to see it in the product now, is some of the high definition accommodations we made for Windows users. Dealing with a lot of customers that would come home with their brand new 4K monitors on their Windows 10 machine and find out Finale didn't work so well. To me, that was kind of something that I took as my own thing to see if I could take it from start to finish and get it to the product. And it's now there, and it kind of flies under the radar because it just works and it just looks good now on a Windows machine, and it's very user friendly, and it's just very transparent of an update. But to me, it's a very important one. It's one that I very much took personally. So I'm glad to see that it made it in, and it's now working out for a lot of people.
That was, I think we could call that one of the major themes of the version 27 plans overall, is that we're fixing things and we're including new features that in large part are kind of invisible to people because like some people like to say, it just works now, right? Yeah. It works the way it's supposed to. But it's a demonstration, I think, that we are viewing Finale as a viable part of, a tool set that people can use going into the future. We are really committing to making this something that's useful for people, whatever workflow they have.
Yeah, I think that aligns with the Smoofle thought too, is that you may not see it, but it's actually a big change that, moving forward is going to help progress the product a lot quicker and a lot more efficiently on both the user end and our end as a development team. So
We actually changed some of the symbols in our menus to try to make them more intuitive.
Sure. Yeah.
So that the person who has not used Finale before can understand when you click on that, what aspect it's going to be bringing up.
Mhm.
Yeah, what is it we used to call the lyrics tool? It was like, it looked like the Fez because it looked like a little hat with a feather coming out of it. Now it actually looks like it's about lyrics.
It was an inkwell. It was
Yeah.
a feather ink thing. Yeah, we were
Well,
trying to be really old school. I don't know.
yeah.
Awesome. It's all really exciting to hear. And I'm sure, all those features are things users are excited about and looking forward to see how they develop. Why don't we jump into some user submitted questions? Just kind of as a heads up for everyone, all these questions were submitted via social media in a form over the past week. You're welcome to use the chat to share your thoughts, leave some questions for us to follow up with later, but we won't be addressing any chat questions during this roundtable. There were a lot of questions submitted. Thank you to everyone who submitted yours. We tried to pick out some big topics or topics we saw come up a lot in people's questions. If we miss some of yours, we'll try and follow up on social media with posts or videos later on. But we're going to stick with these for now, and maybe we'll even address them at a future roundtable. So the first one is, I'm sure something we hear a lot about, and I'm sure a very important topic to all the users, and that's bug fixes. When a user submits a bug, what's the process? How do you determine which ones to fix or how to fix them, or even if it's a bug at all? What's the thought process there?
I think I'll lead with that one. Yeah, we do get a lot of bug reports submitted, and a lot of those will filter up through me, I think, for the most part. And it's a process of, first understanding if it is a bug. A lot of people encounter issues or things that just don't seem to work right or work as they would suspect that they would. So sometimes there's some understanding and a little bit of education that goes along with how the program is working. So we can teach people how to use it a little bit better in that manner. But if we do find out it is a bug, it does go through a vetting process, and that's something that gets well documented. And I do a lot of that documentation myself, as well as Doug, and John does it as well. And then, I would document it, or one of us would document it. And then as someone in QA would look at it and make sure that, yep, that's indeed what's happening, and that's not how it should be. And then John will come along and prioritize it. And give it a severity, and what type of scope does this have? What type of audience does this reach? How many people does this affect? How does it affect their work and their output? There's a lot of decisions that go into setting it as what gets fixed and why and how, because they can be far and few between as far as bugs is what one user encounters versus another. One person's bug isn't another person's bug, so to speak. There's a lot of places where there's a bug that's been there for years, and some users will never, ever even see it. And some users encounter it almost daily. So we go through a process of vetting that determines how important is this, and what's it going to break, and how fast do we need to fix this? So,
and I mean, we really do have to prioritize them based on, like you said, the severity. So if Finale's crashing, or if there's an event that causes you to lose data, that's going to be our top priority. We're going to try to get that fixed right away. And then kind of filter through, and then it gets to be up to John. We can just blame him for everything.
Yeah, I'm happy to be that lightning rod for all the issues. But yeah, the thing that sticks out in my mind is the first thing we have to do when we're vetting any bug report is we have to be able to reproduce it ourselves. If we can't, we have no way of tracking down what's causing the problem. So we spend a fair amount of time when we get a bug report. Dave will try to reproduce it on one or more of his machines. We always check to see, is it affecting just Mac, just Windows? Is it affecting both platforms? And then, like Dave said, it's a matter of prioritization, figuring out how severe the problem is, what the proportion of our user base is that it's going to affect. And if it is something that is, I hate to use the word important enough, if it's something that's really disrupting people's ability to use the software, then yeah, we have even considered releasing hot fixes where we try to drop everything we're doing and get the fix out the door. We have done that multiple times in the past.
Yeah, there's always things that come up that require a hot fix, and we'll do that if necessary. There's a few times where we've caught things right out of the gate that's like, nope, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes things take a little bit longer, but yeah, replication of the bug is huge too. Can we reliably make this happen in house? And then
Mhm.
once we can do that, if we can't do that, it's a bit tricky because you can't.
Oh,
see
it's those ones that just drive us absolutely batty because we know people are experiencing it, and it sometimes, I mean, you feel helpless almost sometimes
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you not track it down.
I've spent days and even weeks on particular issues that I can visibly see other users encountering, but I can't make it happen. Eventually you might, but yeah, it's part of the process though. It's part of what we're here to do.
Oh yeah, when we have that aha moment of, oh, that's what you have to do to make
There's a lot of bugs in Finale where it's like, yeah, you have to do it on a Wednesday before noon, first week of the month with the lights down, and then it'll reproduce. Yes.
Well, as someone who does the testing of the software, I actually spend more time getting the situation actually set up correctly with the correct OS and the correct everything before I test, because my results are not valid unless I absolutely know what the situation is or what state the computer is in. So I spend more time setting up than I do actually testing.
Interesting. Here's another hot topic recently. What about a Finale iPad app? What are any plans?
That is a hot
Should I
topic.
jump in on that one?
Go ahead, John. I'll let you start
Okay.
with that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, this has been all over the news in the notation world, right? About these iPad apps coming out from some of our friends in the notation space. So we have an answer for this, and that is we actually have an app you can use on mobile devices. It's called Compose. It is part of our smart music set of web apps. The good news is it's free. You don't have to have a subscription. And essentially what you can do, thanks to the integration we've built into version 27, you can upload your Finale file and open it in the Compose app. Or you can also use the Compose app to create a new document. And you can do this on any mobile device. It's not platform specific. We've had it out there for a while. As long as you can run a Chrome browser on your device, you can get into Compose. You can also import music from any other notation software that can export music XML. So this is, we think, a really good solution for the particular things that people want to do on a mobile device, because based on the conversations we've had with people, and I know Dave, you can speak to this certainly, but I think what we've gathered is there's really two main things people want to do. They want to be able to view their files just wherever they are. That's the promise of a mobile device, right? And they want to be able to capture their ideas on the fly. The things that Finale is really great for, that really fine-tune getting your document looking the specific way, all the rules and artistry of engraving, we aren't convinced that people necessarily want to do that on their mobile device. It's just not a great platform for that. So we are trying to understand exactly what people want to, when people say, oh, I want Finale on the iPad, we ask more questions. We want to know exactly what do you want to do. And we are pretty confident that the Compose app is a really good answer for this. Now, that's not to say we don't have room for improvement. We can improve the notation rendering in the app, and we've got a developer who's basically focused just on that. Some of the UI of Compose needs a little bit of love and care. So we have our UX people looking at that as well. And then, like I said, making sure that the integration between Finale and the Compose app is as strong as it can be. All things that we are actively looking into.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone to a lot of conventions like NAMM shows and stuff like that, and asked people, because I've often gotten that question. I have for years, and it's something that's been posed on our forums a lot too, as far as, is there an iPad app? And I always tend to ask people, well, what are you planning to do with it on an iPad? Do you really want to, compose on that? And the answer is yes. And then when you say, well, what are you going to do when it's really small and you're running into hardware limitations of a smaller, and granted, Apple's making strides with the hardware itself, when you're trying to run a bunch of virtual instruments and get some sounds, and it's really tiny. And most people start to realize, yeah, well, maybe it isn't perfect, but it still would be nice because, in our world of technology, it's nice to take your little gadgets and toys around to wherever you want and do what you need to do. But I found in those discussions, a lot of what people really want is to basically make some changes really quick, get their music out to their musicians or their performers or students or whatever really quickly, and be able to edit those changes and get them all back out. And I think that's kind of the idea of where we're headed now with Compose and the share feature and all that. A lot of those collaborative features that you really want from a mobile device are already there and in progress, and we're really iterating on them constantly with like the Compose team and all that, who are designed or are there just to update that app. And Finale brings it in with the share feature. So yeah, and I think with Compose moving along, you'll get the engraving stuff that'll start coming along. But I think the really heavy work and the really publishing heavy focused detail that you want to do, you're going to want to do on a computer for the most part anyway. So I think you're still going to fall back to Finale is the main app that you're going to use anyway. So, but it is a collaborative effort to move both forward and get, both camps happy with working on a desktop and a mobile device.
Yeah,
There's a perception, of course, of smart music being an education only thing, but we need to work on that and say that, it started out as being education only, but it's going to be our platform going forward for doing a lot more stuff than just teaching lessons.
Yeah, I would suggest if you're one of the people who would like to see Finale on the iPad, go to smartmusic.com, set up a free account. Doesn't cost anything. Don't need a subscription. Try out the Compose app. See what it can do for you.
Or even better, yeah, take some of your own Finale files and upload them as music XML files and give them a shot and see what it's like playing with them. You don't need to download anything to your iPad already. And the better part too is if you have an Android device, you can already get it because you could just open Compose on any Chrome browser, and you can open up your files that you shared with yourself and start editing them on the fly from any location. So the technology is already there. It's already in place.
And I should note that the playback too in the Compose app uses the same Garriton samples that we ship in Finale.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure that's a very helpful feature for a lot of users who have been looking for that mobile solution. Speaking of the education side, our next question is in that realm. V27 seemed to be a very educator-based update, especially with the focus on sharing. Was that the intent? Is it moving in a very educator, focused direction?
I think since share was one of the prominent features we added, it's easy to kind of think that we wanted to focus it more towards educators, but I think the reality is Finale has never been just an educational only tool. Sure, there's a lot of focus and a lot of features that educators can use and are very useful. We know a lot of teachers that use it, in their daily classrooms, but, there's also music publishers and composers and orchestrators and freelancers and choir directors and band directors and all sorts of people that use it. And I think a lot of those features and Finale in general has always been focused on a very broad, wide audience of different users. So, I could see the perspective of how you could think of it being very educational focused, but I don't think Finale as a whole has ever gone that direction entirely. I think we've tried to focus everything on a big group of users that we actually have as our community. So I don't see that focus was our intent, but I get the perspective, but no, Finale's for a lot of different users. So.
And what, maybe could you speak to a moment maybe for how do those new share features, could they benefit people outside of that education space?
Collaborative work is definitely going to benefit from that. So if you're a band leader and you need to get some charts out to your players real quick, it's a real fast way to email the chart to the entire band in one swoop on one email. They can open it up and have a look at it before rehearsal. Same with people collaborating between composers. and even, transferring files quickly from a composer to an orchestrator to get it over to Finale and get some more detail done. And I mean, as far as sharing it in general, it provides, an open platform that people can get to real quickly. So it's basically getting it to the people that you need quickly, I think and those don't have to be students. Those could be any part of your musical world.
Yeah,
One of the great advantages of the sharing features that we've added in version 27 is that, unlike handing out paper copies or emailing out PDFs, you can't be guaranteed that the people you're sharing your music with are always working from the same version of the document, right? With sharing, you know that whatever you've uploaded is the version everybody has, and you can update your document. Everyone's working from the same copy. That to me is in itself a game changer. But I think one of the other things we recognized with our goals for version 27, and hopefully we've demonstrated that in 27.0, is that the world of making music together is changing. I mean, not just with the pandemic, but that's a great example. We find ourselves in a world where this sense of music as community is taking on a new meaning. And if you need to be able to reach out to your performers and feel that sense of community, feel like an ensemble, you need a tool that's going to bring you together using the sheet music, using the content, using recordings, using playback. And that's where sharing absolutely fills in. It brings you closer together than you could otherwise be.
I love that idea of music as community, and I'm sure almost every musician you'd ever talk to would agree that it is a big part of music is that sense of community and playing music together and sharing it with people. One last question here on the topic of feedback. We receive feedback in a lot of different ways. Who do you receive feedback from? How often? And how does it kind of play into the decision making for new updates and new features?
Well, we get feedback from all sorts of different avenues and platforms, from Facebook, forums. We have a technical support team that feeds a lot of them. I speak with a lot of users directly. We have conventions and different like NAMM shows and stuff like that we participate in every year. So I think we get feedback from a wide range of users. I think is the focus. It's not, we don't take feedback from one group over the other. So it ranges from your very basic beginner users to your heavy hitter pro users. Everyone has a certain amount of importance on the role they play and how the program grows over the years. But we have a lot of different ways where we get that feedback: social media, and again, forum threads. So, and people contact us directly. Yeah, and that happens a lot.
And I mean, one of the strengths of Finale is its ability to do any kind of music. And the needs of the different types of music, have different issues and different problems that they want to deal with. But, so we have to try to satisfy the people in the choral music community, people in the instrumental music community, people in the, especially, we don't want to forget the people who are in religious situations, people at churches. That's a lot of our user base. Our folks knocking down stuff for church every week.
Yeah.
Which so music is such a big world. It's a challenge for us to kind of choose what's going to have the most good for the most people.
I think that's it right there. That's the hardest part. We take a lot of feedback from a lot of different areas, and what we have to do is break that down and essentially what is going to do the most good for the biggest amount of our users in one change. So, and that's where John comes in and kind of weighs those a little bit. How do I prioritize this?
The name of the game is always prioritization. I mean, that's just our daily reality. We just a little, peek behind the curtain. We have a product backlog of, what was it at last count? Like 2,700 items, the ideas we could do in the software. So we have no shortage, like like Dave said, we have no shortage of feedback and ideas coming in. And just shout out to our customer support team. They impress me on a daily basis with handling the wide variety of things people need help with and getting that information to the people who can do something about it. That's a big part of what Dave does for us too. So shout out to that whole team. We couldn't do it without you. But yeah, okay. So to talk about prioritization, like how do we decide what we're actually going to work on, right? And traditionally that has been calling it a solo activity isn't quite right. But at the end of the day, I've been the person as product owner who's making those decisions, right? What's going to go in the next version? What is at the top of the list as far as what we want to deliver to our users? And I think we're shifting just this year actually more to a model where it's a collaborative effort with the whole Finale team, with a cross-functional group of people that make music that set the strategy for all of our music creation products. So it's not so much just on one person's shoulders anymore. Regardless of who's making the decision, we still have to evaluate every idea that comes in, or ideas that we have as well. And like Doug and Dave said, it's a matter of what kind of exposure does it have to the user base? How many people is it going to affect and potentially improve the workflow for? What kind of impact? Kind of like that same idea of severity with bug fixes. What is the impact going to be if we were to ship this for people, this new feature? We also have to take in mind, it has to be said, the complexity of creating that new feature. Is this something the team can reasonably pull off with the limited resources that we have? And we do have really phenomenally gifted developers. I have to say that. And everyone on the team, it really does their best and in my opinion, produces a product that we are very, very proud of. But we have to, at the end of the day, we have to make that decision. What are we going to actually work on today? And it comes down to what are the things that are going to improve workflows for most people, and for specifically the people who are depending on Finale in their day-to-day lives. Sure. They're the people we really have to think about. And then if we choose to pursue a new feature, then it's rounds of user experience testing. We talk to people. We have a UX team who will do user interviews and create kind of lo-fi prototypes and test things out. We have to make sure the design is something that people are not only going to find useful, but that they can find at all. For example, with the Smoofle work that we just did in 27.0, we added a new menu item, which, well, that's half true. We moved an existing menu item and renamed it so people could actually find it, which is that insert symbol in the text menu. So you can get to the big new Smoofle symbol selection dialog.
With categories.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The categories is amazing. It's something you have to do if you're going to have that many symbols in a font.
Right.
Yeah. Kind of lost my train of thought, but basically what I'm getting at is we have a whole process that we go through for any feature we might undertake.
Yeah, I think to go back to the original question, one thing I wanted to add to that is like, where do we get input? And I think the heart of that question is that we do take the input. As John mentioned, we have over 2,600 tickets written up in our backlog, and we do write up that input that we get through all those different channels. That is documented. I myself spend a lot of my days writing that stuff down and reading it, and making sure I knock on his door when it needs to get heard. And yeah, I think the one thing I want to focus on that is that yes, your feedback is heard. We do take input from all sorts of different channels, from all different levels of users. So our user community, like, their thoughts and their needs are something we listen to on a daily basis. So that should never go, overlooked too much, because it is very, very important to us and how we shape the product.
Mm-hmm. And it's a passionate community.
It is a very passionate community. Yes. People love it. Yes.
And I mean, we have some responsibility, because in a lot of ways, the way we make music look is the way it looks.
Yeah.
So that's a responsibility that we have to shoulder.
And I would say the passion embodied in our community of users is matched by the passion we have on the team itself. These are people who are heavily invested in making a product people want to use.
Yep, for sure.
And
Yeah.
speaking of the team, I mean, it's not a huge team, but we have a lot of age and experience diversity, which I think is a really good thing. We have a number of us who've been working here for many, many years. The one developer, we keep saying he must have started when he was 12. But we also we just brought on a new person, fresh and clean. And we have people of different levels of experience with it. So we have some fresh eyes looking at the code. Yeah, so it's not the same old guys making the same mistakes, you know?
And from a variety of musical backgrounds too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, huge variety, but all have musical backgrounds too, which is something to emphasize there. We have some skin in the game. We're all musicians as well, and we know what it's like to rely on something like this to get your daily tasks done. So
I think Doug, you might be the person on the team who uses Finale the most outside of work.
Yeah, I am. I've been a fanboy for a long time, and all my free time has been spent in Finale, and it still is. And I just completed a new big band chart that mailed it off to the big band, so we'll be playing it soon. So.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very fun to hear kind of the perspectives from each team member, and knowing that you're users and musicians too puts a lot of perspective in like the choices that are made and the decisions. And I think having those different perspectives in the team, plays a huge important role on the quality of the product, and it shows. So that's about all the time we have today. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and for those of you who submitted your questions, thank you. If we missed any questions, we'll try and catch up on social media, on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and see if we can answer some of those for you over the next days or week. Thank you, all three of you, for joining us and taking some time out of your day to answer questions and speak to the community a little bit. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Daniel.